Hello and welcome back to the CCI platform. For those of you who are just joining, my name is Liam Gartland and I'm the founder and producer of the Gradfest. And we are here today for our last session of the day to interview the lovely Michelle Blair from Michelle Blair Management.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, Liam. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's very exciting and it's lovely to have a Q&A involved in my day. I'm actually speaking for once because I talk for England.
So do I. We've only got an hour.
We'll have a joy, won't we? We'll have a joy, chatting away. So yeah, tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. So I'm Michelle Blair. I run and own Michelle Blair Management, where we have a client base of actors ranging from musical theatre, straight theatre, film, television, right across the board, really.
You name it, there's a client in there.
Hopefully.
So yeah, and kind of tell us how you became an agent. What was it that you trained in musical theatre? You was a performer for years, and what made you make that change to go? I want to be.
Okay. Do you want me to go back? So you want me to go back from when I graduated?
Let's go back.
Okay, so I trained at London Studio Centre. I wanted to go into ballet and be in a ballet company. So that was my childhood growing up. I'd never done anything but ballet. Never sang, never acted, and never done any jazz really. So I went to Studio Centre. I walked in the door, auditioned for a few places, and I'm sure your lovely grads will appreciate when you go around the different colleges. I think there's one that sticks out, the one that you go, that's one's for me. And when I walked into Studio Centre, that was it. It was when it was at the building down York Way and at King's Cross. And I walked in, and all I can say is like the kids from Fame. So there was a TV series on in the 80s that you're all way too young to know. And the atmosphere in Studio Centre, and I walked in that door, it was literally, there were people singing in the corridor, there were people playing the piano, there were people dancing, literally in the studios, in the corridors, out on the street. And I just felt like it was home. I felt so happy there. So I still wanted to do ballet. The Studio Centre have got Images, their ballet company side. So I thought, well, this kind of, I love it here, and I could still train for ballet. So the first term I spent doing all the extracurricular point work, pas de deux, RAD, repertoire. Didn't really like jazz, which is ironic because I have spent 20 years of my life teaching jazz, mathematics particularly. And I used to go to the back of my jazz classes, and I remember just thinking, I can't do 2.5 more years. This was kind of January time at this point. Being in the back, it wasn't that I enjoyed it. It wasn't something that I felt totally passionate about. So anyway, I made myself go to the front of the class and really just go, right, all in, let's do this. And literally within 4 months, I'd gone from the second bottom class to the top class, advanced with all the third years. It was bonkers. And suddenly there was this jazz dancer inside of me that I didn't know really existed. And then also within that first year, Stephen Mear came and taught. He was performing in Some Like It Hot at the Prince Edward. And everyone was buzzing around saying, oh my God, Stephen's here. From my world of ballet, I didn't have a clue who anybody from musical theatre was. You know, I could name every ballet company, every classical dancer, but the jazz world, the musical theatre world, it was all kind of new to me. Anyway, I did one of his classes and I've never looked back. It was literally the most exciting. That second term at Studio Centre just literally defined who I was. Stephen would get me to the front of class. Thankfully, the feeling was mutual. He was like, I want you to do it like her. And it was just like, it was bonkers. So then that was it. Ballet got sidelined, and I just knew now that musical theatre was for me. I had an amazing acting coach who was motivating, the gorgeous Ian Dewar. And he just motivated me and pushed me. He would give me money to go and watch shows. He gave me money to go and see other teachers that we'd get in, actually go into the West End. Because I've seen a few musicals, I've seen Cats, generally the dance-based ones. And this was a whole new world. I was literally fast-tracking into this musical theatre world. So when I graduated, obviously I knew that's what I was going to do. But I graduated at a time when you needed an equity card to work in the West End. And you couldn't get an equity card without what was called working your weeks. I'm that old. And so you had to do 40 weeks of professional employment to get this card. And then there were a West End show, you could still audition. And a West End show was able, I believe, to give you an equity card. So if they really wanted you, but you can imagine that competition for that one place. I think they had one place each year that they could give an equity card to. So that competition was absolutely steep. So I went and kind of graduated and went and did lots of smaller jobs, kind of summer seasons and pantos and those kind of jobs to work my weeks. And then within like the 2 years that it took me to get my 40 weeks, Equity decided that anyone that trained at a professional performing arts college could get automatic equity membership. Oh my God. So basically I did 2 years, but do you know what? I learned so much. I know that there are people that graduate and go straight into West End shows, and that's incredible for them, and an amazing opportunity, but I would not have changed what I did. That I did 4 years before I got a show in town, and I learned so much in those 4 years. Just everything, because on some of the smaller jobs, you have to do everything. You have to bring the costumes in, you have to bring the sets in, you have to, sometimes you have to choreograph bits yourself. You have, and you learn to work as a team. And I do feel that has put me in a really good position, because I kind of learned what everybody does. And when I got that job, oh my God, did I appreciate it, because suddenly you've got wardrobe and costumes and you've got sets and stage management, and you just have to do your job as a performer, which is amazing. So I think I feel really lucky that I did the 2 years of hard slog to get my equity card. But I am really happy that you guys now don't need to do that. I tell you what I do miss though, that I think would be brilliant now, is most shows, because you needed your equity card to audition, even to get an agent wouldn't really represent you potentially without an equity card, because it's a bit like, being in the UK and wanting to work in the West End but needing a visa and not having one. So all the shows used to do open auditions. So every show open audition, and it was an amazing opportunity to meet all the other grads from all the other colleges. You got a real affinity. You got to learn who your competition was. You learned to get out very early and get first in the queue. Otherwise, you were in a bit like a Pineapple now with the Royal Caribbean, where they're queuing around the block. And I know there are some open auditions that happen, and I just think I do think that some people potentially from my era wouldn't have got where they are without that opportunity to get in a room and just audition. Because we didn't have the internet, I didn't even have a mobile till 2 years after I graduated. It's honestly the way, and I graduated in '94, so we're not talking masses of time away, but there wasn't the opportunity that you all have to be able to showcase your talent on the internet, on YouTube, like this. You couldn't access, there was no access to casting directors, no access really, agents were much more the doorway into the career. I mean, we still are a doorway, but there are so many other doorways now. So I think you learned to be very tenacious, and a lot more. You had to be motivated. You had to be dedicated, because you might have only got one chance in that room at an open audition with probably 50 people to make an impression. And I think that still obviously happens now, but not with so many of the West End shows or the UK tours, which obviously if you trained in musical theatre, that's what your kind of pinnacle, that's what you want to do. So I do feel that there are great things now that happen with social media and with the access on the internet, but I do think there was a lot to be learned from the way that we just had to get our feet in and just work. So yeah, so I whilst I was working my weeks, I started teaching. I became an absolute fanatic of mathematics, which was the technique that Studio Centre bases their jazz on. So mathematics is a man, and he developed this jazz technique, and I just loved it. And I'm a very, I think with my ballet training, I'm very pernickety and very, I like, not perfection doesn't exist, but I like that. I like the clean lines. And I like jazz to be really technical. So I ended up teaching. Studio Centre needed a teacher. That was literally a couple of years out of college, and I went at 16, so I was probably 21, and I was teaching at London Studio Centre, which is really bonkers when you think that some people don't go to college now till they're 21. So I was teaching, which was an incredible, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I ended up having parallel careers really with performing and teaching. I worked as a tutor at so many colleges, Studio Centre, Italia Conti, ironically worked at lots of ballet schools, which was brilliant to be on the faculty with people that I looked up to. So I worked at the Royal Ballet, Central, Elmhurst, EMB, teaching jazz, which I loved because it was like a new world. I used to get not told off, but the other staff I was always really energized and kind of be like this ball of fire running through this college. And they kind of, everybody knew that I'd arrived. I remember I was doing a summer school at the Royal Ballet School, and the incredible Gayleen Stock, who is no longer with us, I was the last class of the day. And the whole, I was overrunning. I have a terrible tendency to overrun classes because when people are really in the moment and they're loving it, I'm like, come on, let's do that one more time. And I remember I was in the big studio. I don't know if you know the Royal Ballet School in Covent Garden, the big studios. We were in the studio theatre and had a class of boys. I think there was maybe 20, 30 in the class. And every single student decided to join in one by one. They came to watch, and then they put the bags down and joined in at the back. By the end of the day, I probably overrun by 15 minutes, every single student on the course was in the class with me. And I remember Gayleen stopped walking in and looking at me, and my music was blaring. So you imagine, the Royal Ballet School, it's very beautiful, calm, and I've got some kind of, I don't know. I don't know what kind of music it wasn't musical theatre. It was like a pop song of the time. So I can't remember what it would have been. And I just remember they were all of them were just dancing in whatever they were wearing, and they were, there was people backflipping. It was like raucous. It was brilliant. And I remember Gayleen at the back looking at me, and I thought, okay, so she's either going to go one of two ways. She's either going to join in and smile and think this is great, or I'm not going to be asked back again. Anyway, it was the former, thankfully, and it was just a brilliant, that I think what with dance, that energy and that that's what I think during lockdown that we're all missing, that opportunity. The CCI is amazing. I've been watching loads of your classes and been sending some of our clients to join in the dance classes and the singing coaching and watch the interviews. But I think nothing can beat being in a studio and just putting the music on and just moving. For me, dance is something that is always with me. Okay, I've diversified in other areas, and I've directed and worked in film and television, and as an agent I represent lots of different actors and dancers and vocalists for all different jobs. But there's something that is just so, it's that endorphins that you get when you dance, and I think going right back to when Stephen Mear would teach us at college, yes, the technique was important, but actually, the demand that he put on us to make sure we were performing and just really putting on a show all the time is so ingrained in me. And when you've got, there was probably 80 people in that studio, and you just turn around and you see these 80 dancers just loving life. I just think that is something that I hope that we get back those times, after this awful year with the lockdowns and everything.
Because I think that's what we're missing right now is that, you know, it's easy to sit in your stand in your living room and do your dance class, but you're on your own, and you know you doubt yourself so much. Whereas when you're a pineapple and the class is full and the mirrors are steaming, and you know, and you live off that buzz, you know.
Exactly. And it's not, you can't replicate that on your own in a room. You know, you try, but it like you said, it's hard when you're on your own. And I think that that's one thing that I would say to everybody, that you've got to stay motivated, you know, and inspired, and you know, everybody, all of you guys that have graduated now, and whoever's watching, you know, you're watching because you're in this industry. And you don't go into this industry to become rich and famous. Of course, some people do.
Yeah.
But you do it because you can't. There is, as one of my clients posted a quote actually this morning about it. I can't remember what it was now, but it was basically saying, you know, we don't choose this. I believe the industry chooses us.
Yeah.
And you know, I made a promise probably when I was 19 that I would never work in any other job than this industry. So whatever I did, it had to stay within this industry. And I have to say 2020 has tested me on that. But I just can't do anything else. Anybody that knows me, you know, I'm proper theatrical, but so passionate about this business.
Yeah,
and I think, you know, and it is a business, and that's the other thing that everyone needs to remember, that you need to run your business as a business, you know, and not. You need to put yourself first. You need to, yes, it's great. You have an agent and you have a vocal coach and you'll have dance coaches and acting coaches, and you know, you've got this team of people that are supporting you. But ultimately, you've got to push yourselves, and you've got to find that motivation, and you've got to have that self-belief that you can do it and that you are going to make it. Because if you lose that, it's almost like giving up. Because once you've lost that drive, you know, and everybody, you know, it's going like this. You know, I spoke to a casting director earlier this week, and they were saying, you know, the difficulty with actors at the moment, all actors, not just graduates, you know, the whole industry, they're going in for auditions. Some of them haven't been in a room for 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you doubt yourself. Can you still do it? You know, can you still, is that top note still going to come out? Are you going to remember your words? You know, the amount of clients that come out of castings that call us and they say, oh my God, Michelle, I forgot my words. And it's not okay, but it's accepted at the moment, because people literally are in this crazy world where that regularity of those auditions, maybe 3, 4, 5 a week, is 1 in 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think you all need to find a way of staying motivated, because your agent is going to need you to be ready. So when that casting comes in, they're going to need you to go in that room. You've got that one chance, in the way that we did in the open auditions. You know, it's a little bit like that at the moment, because so many people are out of work. The industry's never been like this. You know,
that's where we go on to this kind of competition and this conversation about what is competition now. This, because you know, you were kind of leaving drama school as a graduate, and you know, you were in a competition in a pool of people that you know were at a similar level to you, and now we're in a different world where we're competing against, you know, some of these big West End names, and the whole kind of way of theatre has changed at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's always been the case. You know, when a graduate leaves college, that first, or even from the moment they get their agent, so some people may sign with an agent in January and February, so they may go straight into auditions with David Grindrod Casting or Jill Green Casting, or you know, one of the big casting houses in for these West End shows, and that is terrifying in itself, because suddenly I do believe that first year out of college you learn more than the 3 years at college. And that's not because the college training is not good, because you know, we've got some of the best training grounds in the world, and I truly believe that. But that first year, you can't give a college student that real audition feeling in a studio environment in their college, you know. So if were you at GSA?
Yeah, GSA, yeah.
So at GSA, you know, you've got those fabulous studios, you get amazing tutors. And, you know, yes, when you have your agent's day, your jewelry day, and you know, it's terrifying, I'm sure, to have like 40 agents all sat around in a room, all staring at you. But you're still in your comfort zone because, in a way, because you're in a familiar studio. You know that building, that's yours. You know, it's a bit like in a relationship, if the partners are going to break up, you know, and you're going to chat, you go and chat on mutual ground, so that you're not feeling one person's not feeling more comfortable than the other. You know, so when you're at university or colleges or what, you know, you're performing arts training, and you get these experts in, these industry experts, these casting directors, agents, you're still on your home turf. You can't recreate going into Jerwood Space or standing on the Palladium, you know. And I remember you going in for an audition, and I remember going in and standing on the Dominion for Notre Dame, I think it was. I'd just got my agent, and I'd got an audition for the lead in Notre Dame, which was crazy because I definitely did not have the voice. Danny Minogue was playing the role at the time, probably just a similar height. That's why they got me in. No idea. Anyway, I remember standing there, and they were right out in the auditorium, and I remember them saying, "What are you going to sing?" And I said, and they went, "Speak up, dear, I can't hear you." I was like, oh my God, like, just terrifying. I'm only 5 foot, stood on that Dominion stage. It's one of the biggest auditoriums in the country, you know. You can't get that at college. You can't get that feeling of going on the bus or the tube to the audition venue, and, you know, walking to that audition venue, making sure you're packing your bag to get there, making sure you've got everything. You know, it's all that you know. I remember buying a graduate from Studio Centre and A to Z when they left college, because we didn't have mobiles. So we might have done then, but we didn't have the internet in the way that we do on mobiles. Mobiles were just for texting and phoning. And they were super, super talented. But they were also a little bit ditzy, which was charming and gorgeous. But I thought, they're going to get lost. Actually bought them an A to Z to make sure they knew how to get to their audition. And it's things like that that you learn. You know, if you're not from London, I didn't realise that all the tube stations were so close together. Like in the East End, I didn't realise that the Central line was actually quite close to the places on the Victoria line, because on the tube map they look miles away. And it's just things like that when you've graduated, navigating around London, you know, having 3 auditions. We had one of our graduates a couple of weeks ago. They had 3 auditions in one day. 2 auditions and a workshop Zoom in the evening. And their anxiety levels went sky high because they couldn't understand that not that they couldn't understand, but they were trying to work out how they could be in North London in the morning. Then they had to get to South London, do completely different material. They were both recalls, and then go and do this workshop session, which was a full script on a lead role, you know. So that's why I think that first year out of college, you do learn so much about the business, you know. And that's why you've got to stay motivated, because you've got to keep doing your singing lessons, your dance classes, as much as you can, because when you do get that audition, that day is going to have a whole host of other things that you've never experienced. So you can't be thinking, oh God, I wish I'd learned, you know, I should have gone through that song more recently, or, you know, I wish I'd been to class more, or I wish I hadn't had all that food over the last lockdown period, because suddenly I've got to go in tan tights and a crop top and a pair of knickers for an audition. You know, it's all those things that you've got to think about, because the industry has standards, and the industry is not going to accept, unfortunately, that we've all had 7 months of lockdown and you've not been able to get to Pineapple, or, you know, Dance Works or Dance Attic, or, you know, your singing teachers not being able to see you in person because they've had to do it over Zoom, which I admire all those vocal coaches for doing that, because I think that is really tough. That not that real time. You know, the producers aren't going to say, oh, they were fabulous when I saw them in February. You know, I know that, you know, they're not quite as good because they're a bit out of shape and maybe the voice isn't as good, but we'll give them a recall. That isn't going to happen. you know. Unfortunately, you know, the industry is going to carry on in the way that it always has, COVID or no COVID, coupled with the fact that you guys are all going to be up against all these West End people that are out of work. You know, the competition is crazy at the moment. I don't envy any of you, and you've just got to have self-belief, stay focused, stay motivated, keep going to as many classes as you can, do all these classes on CCI, time again, keep fit.
Well, exactly, and that, you know, that's the thing. There is so much out there for everybody. You know, whether you've done 20 years in the business or you're just starting out leaving grammar school, there's something for everyone.
Exactly.
It's about finding it and giving yourself the time and motivation to do it. You know, without kind of sitting and having a little chat to yourself and going, we might be in this situation, but here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You're never going to kind of get that first job.
You're not going to get off the starting block. Yeah. And I think that's always, when I used to teach all the colleges that I taught at, one of the first things I did at the beginning of every year with the first years, I'd sit them down and ask them why they were there. And if they said, I want to be famous, I'd say, well, that's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. Because yes, that does happen. And lots of my students have gone on to do incredible things and are well known to the public in all genres of the industry. But, you know, the majority of people are, you know, hardworking actors who are going job to job to job, and they don't get that fame or notoriety. And I think that the reason that somebody goes to college is so super important, and that needs to be your inspiration from day one to wherever you get to, you know. And I always say, and all of the students laugh. So I say to them, I promise you in 5 years' time, there will only be 10% of you, or 10 years, 10 years' time, there'll only be 10% of you still in this industry. And they all go, oh, I'm definitely going to be in the industry. Oh, yeah, me too. And then you look 5-10 years down the line, and there's 10% still in the industry, you know, because it's tough. It's so hard, and it's more than just talent. You know, you can be the very, very best at your skill set, whatever that may be, as an actor, as a dancer, as a singer, you know, but you need to be the full package. You need to be a brilliant timekeeper, a great company member. You know, the amount of people that don't get booked on jobs because they have kind of negative feedback from previous jobs, because every job you go for, even as a graduate, they'll call up your college to see what you were like. You know, we do it as agents. We'll make sure that we've conversed with the colleges or people that we know that they've worked with, just to find out, you know, everybody wants to be working together collaboratively and not against somebody, and not thinking, not worrying what somebody's going to say, you know, because
and especially as an agent, you know, you've never, you know, you have like your 10, 15, half an hour chat with the person that you're interested in, and then you may have another one. But apart from that, you know that they're talented, but you don't know anything else about them. You know, you don't know what they're actually like. And that's the same with castings until you ask other people and, you know, kind of get the word. And it's why you've kind of just got to be a nice person, because nice things will come back to you.
100%. And honestly, that tree is tall, so be nice all the way to the top, because genuinely you might be coming back down it and then going back up it throughout your career. And there are definitely times that you meet people and, you know, the hierarchy is changing. You know, so somebody that was your boss, you're now their boss, and then it changes back again for whatever, you know, whatever reasons. And I think that you don't have to be insipid, and you don't have to be kind of you know, really over the top friendly with people. It's just about professionalism. It's about knowing. It's just about knowing. I think it comes from your own vulnerability though as well. I think that if you're feeling on the back foot, so let's go back to, you haven't really done a singing lesson, you've not done much dancing, you go in a room and you're not great because of all those lack of preparation, you're going to be putting brick walls up and you're going to be feeling vulnerable. And then if somebody comes in with something and a question or a statement that makes you feel worse, you're going to attack. It's human nature, you know? And I think the more prepared you are for anything, you can keep your, when you look at people, some of the actors that, like gorgeous Jenna Russell, who I've been lucky enough to work with twice, she is one of the UK's most talented actresses, and she's also one of the most nicest people ever. And I do think that does, it comes hand in hand. And talent, as I said at the beginning, is not everything. You do have to have a full complement. You have to be a nice person, hardworking, a good timekeeper, a good company member, a whole host of other skills and attributes that you need.
Yeah, and you just never know where anyone's going to be. I bet you went to college or worked with people who are now, kind of, or you may have been in a cast which they were directing or whatever. There's so much in the industry, and you never know where anyone's going to be.
Exactly, you just don't know, and you see people on the way, and it's lovely that though when you can, people. I was so lucky. When I trained, and I think everybody feels lucky when they were at college, and you're very most people have very good memories of their time at college and the people that they were there with. When I look back, the people that I was there with, like Nicholas Pinnock, who's just now producing, he's in huge drama, and he's just got a producer's credit. Danny Crosley, leading West End man, Jason Pennycook, Hamilton, the people that I was there with, we're still such good friends. You have, this is what I love about colleges, and you guys who are graduates, you never forget your college mates. They are there for life generally. And I've got one of my flatmates that I used to live with. She's now a huge TV producer, does dealing with documentaries. I've got another friend who's now writing a new musical that's currently in development and workshops. So there is a perfect example. There's somebody there that is going to potentially I'll be able to suggest clients to, and potentially get work, and that's, we're talking about a relationship from the early 90s. We are talking nearly 30 years, which makes me feel sick. But and it's just lovely. It's just so lovely, and the teachers that we had, I'm in touch with so many of my students that I've taught over the years. I was so lucky to work at so many incredible places. In fact, I taught at Sylvia Young's, which I loved for 10 years. It's the most incredible place. I learned so much from Sylvia. She's the most amazing woman. And those people that I was teaching there, some of them are only 10 or 11. So when I see on their Facebook, and yay, great, I'm 26 today. I'm like, what? How can you be turning 26? I feel like I've known you for more than 26 years. It's just so lovely. I love seeing, I know that I've got my gorgeous clients that we have at Blair Management, but I feel the industry is huge, and I love seeing all my graduates and ex-students and just what they're all doing and just flying, because that's what we want.
Completely.
Exactly.
We have a question. How do you advise a screen actor to start working in theatre?
Oh, okay. That's interesting, because normally I get asked the other way. How do you get on TV? Okay. It depends really what that person has done. If they're successful and have done some well-known work and they are well-known, then the theatre work will kind of come automatically. If you're doing like small parts and you're still not particularly well-known, kind of more of a jobbing screen actor, it should work really. If you've got a good agent, it should work in the same way as the screen work, that you get suggested. If you haven't had any training as a stage actor, then that would probably potentially be a problem, because the technique needed for stage acting is very, very different to screen acting. But if you've trained at one of the accredited, or not a drama school, you should have had, most of your training would have been focused on stage work, and then stage with a screen element. So you would just revert back to that, speak to your agent. If you've never done stage production, I would look at maybe some of the smaller, shorter contracts on some of the London fringe theatres. They do some great work, and you also get to start to work with new up-and-coming directors. I'd probably do that. If you've got an agent, talk to your agent, definitely, and get a game plan. You're not going to jump from screen to never doing any stage to getting a lead role at the National, unless you're very, very lucky. But we tend to work with our clients on a game plan, so kind of do 1 year, 3 year, 5 year plan. It's not going to happen overnight potentially, but you need to. The different casting directors deal with stage generally to screen, so it's networking with them. If there's any workshops happening that you could maybe do and meet some of these stage casting directors. Look at regional theatre. If you're not from London, there's amazing. I'm such a passionate advocate for regional theatre. Get in touch. They love local. Most regional theatres love working with local actors. So I'm from Scarborough originally, so I'm very lucky. I've got the Stephen Joseph Theatre, Alan Ayckbourn there, and I have bucket lists, and I want a bucket. One of my bucket lists is to get a client to work there because I just think it's magical. I love it. Contact your local theatre, get in touch with, find out who casts, and get in touch with them and say, I'm local to the area. I grew up here. I love the work that you're doing. That's because it's always good for the local theatres to cast with their the kids that maybe went through their local theatre groups. Hope that helps.
Fabulous, yeah. They've started the flooding, so we have a few more.
Okay.
At this time, would you say that those people with agents are being seen more than those who are applying for themselves?
Yeah, I do, unfortunately. I don't envy. Look, right now, I don't envy anybody, particularly casting directors. They are being. They're just thousands. We're talking submissions in thousands for certain productions. It's everything is more difficult at the moment. Casting directors will generally go towards actors that they know, have worked with. Again, going back to that kind of being a good company member, that casting director wants to bring somebody in a room because their job is to bring the best people in for that producer and that creative team. So that casting director, their first port of call is going to be the people that they know are going to come in and do a great job in that room. Because that's important for them, for their job. Because if they bring in a load of people that they don't know and the people are not great, then they might not then get the job to do that casting for that producer on the next show. So there is that the casting directors are going to bring in the people they know. They're going to bring in the people from the agents that they know. They're going to bring in graduates that they may have seen at their showcases or at their productions. There are loads of opportunities if you actually totally fit the brief on a role that casting director will bring you in if they don't know you. But it is much more difficult without an agent, because part of our job is networking and making sure that we know all these casting directors and that we know the kind of actors that they like, and that we know that we're suggesting right. There is a real trust and respect between agents and casting directors. And right now, it is harder than ever because so many people are out of work. Nobody can even imagine that this would have ever happened. I don't envy anybody. I think that, I think you've just got to, I would say, make sure that you are running your in-house business as well as possible. Make sure your social media is current and relevant to the industry. On your Instagram, if you have Instagram, make sure that in your 9 squares, 80% of it's business. If you're an actor, make sure you're promoting yourself as an actor. It's very easy, particularly with graduates, and I don't mean to keep focusing on graduates because this can be anybody, but I think it's really easy to, when you're at college, to use your Instagram and your Twitter feeds or TikTok or whatever you're on, and use it for fun. And to, you know, we've had a few incidents with graduates that have posted things on their Instagram. I had to call them and say, listen, you need to take that down because the casting director might be looking, and that's not your best. You know, maybe you've done a self-tape and it didn't work out, and they're posting a self-tape going, look how bad I am. That's not good. So I think if you're, you know, if you don't have an agent, you're potentially writing to agents. So make sure your Instagram feed is really representative of you. And your talent. So get your headshots on there. Get, you know, if you're a singer, get your voice out there. If you're an actor, do some monologues, duologues. You know, try and be creative. Try and create stuff that's interesting, so that people stop when they're scrolling and go, "Oh, that's interesting. Who's that? I don't know them." And then they might delve further, and then that casting director might go, "Okay, I'll just check on Spotlight who they are. Okay, they don't have an agent, but they look quite good. Oh, look, they've trained at that college that I know. I might give that course director a call and see, you know, what they're like, because actually they might match the brief for this new job that I'm casting." It all goes hand in hand, and that absolutely happens. So to people that think, oh, that'll never happen, it totally does. Yeah. Really, really. We've had a client during lockdown that has booked a lead role from their Instagram.
I was going to come on to this question with you, because I've not really spoken to anyone doing this Q&A about social media. It's something that I think is very important, and I think reflects you in kind of everything that, you know, the industry is so driven on social media. And, you know, and if you see someone's name on a screen, the first thing you do is look at their Instagram or their Twitter. Have they got any singing videos? I want to hear them sing, or I want to see how good they are, how good they can dance. And if they've got nothing on, then you're disappointed and you can't see how good these people are.
I just think you guys have got to be you've got to be almost a master of everything at the moment. I mean, I've been using lockdown myself to do loads of training on social media. I've done LinkedIn courses, Instagram courses, social media courses. I'm really interested in other agents and what they do. I like to see what casting directors are doing. I think that as an industry, it's something that is going to increase and be progressive on social media. I think it's, you know what, we've taken a client on this year, a graduate actually, that from their headshot, I wouldn't have looked twice, literally. But it was one of the online showcases that we were watching from the colleges. And there was something that was quite intriguing. Sylvia Young is an absolute incredible woman, I said earlier, but she's got this gut instinct when she sees talent, and I understand it now. I mean, I've always had that similar kind of thing, but I watched this show reel, and this actor kind of appeared, and there was something, and I looked at the headshot and I was like, oh, that person's not going to get called in, and I like them. There's something. So I went on their Instagram. I did a little bit of stalking. Went on their Instagram, totally different person. The Instagram feed was extraordinary, like really different, really really told me a lot about the person, even just what they were wearing, the style of clothes. They looked a lot more relaxed. You know, there's a big thing with you guys as graduates that you think you always have to be very put on an act, you know. And actually, the best thing, the best advice that I could give anybody is always be yourself. Because if you go in and you don't get a job, but you've been as truthful and as authentic to who you are, and you don't get the job, that's fine. Because human beings will either like you or not. Somebody that I love, somebody else might not love, you know? So you have to be so truthful. And when I went on this Instagram feed, there was some guitar singing, and there was a little bit of more singing, and there was, you know, kind of out in a bar, just being relaxed. I signed them, because when I saw them do that and when I chatted to them, the package was there. They just were not aware of it, you know? So social media it's the first thing I do. Somebody wrote to me, absolute horror story. Somebody wrote to me and I went on their Twitter, and the first tweet was them fully naked. Needless to say, that I replied to everybody, that got deleted, because it's just not you cannot, particularly with things like Twitter, because if I like something, that'll pop up
in someone else's
casting directors feed. Yeah, you know, I've got a lot of casting directors that I follow and they follow me. So you've got to be really careful. You have to be careful. Twitter and Instagram is not, and I don't like it when people have locked their profiles either, because if you lock your profile, I'm like, what are they hiding? You know, and I think a lot of people think that. I think that there is, you know, you can still be yourself. You can still put your fun times. People want to see you as a person, as a human being. But we're not very good in the UK at self-promotion. You know, Americans are brilliant at it. They are a lot more confident. We're very stiff upper lip and have been brought up to not shout loud and proud about how good we are at things. And I think that you need to. But again, it goes right back to the beginning of this conversation, where you need to also be prepared. So don't post a song if it's not perfect, you know, because when you're doing a tape and you're posting it on Instagram, that needs to be the very, very, very best of you, because you've got time to change it if it's not the best of you. So if it's same as somebody sends us a reel, if it's not perfect, it does make me doubt whether I want to represent them. And it would be the same with an MD. You know, there's loads of musical directors on social media, casting directors, you know, choreographers for dancers. You know, you need to just make sure, be very savvy with what you're posting and make sure it's really selling you to the very, very best. But don't be embarrassed to post it. You know, don't think, what are my friends going to say if I'm posting it all the time of me singing? They're going to think I'm showing off. That's fine. We're in an industry where showing off, that's why we all come into this industry, because we're the show-offs of the world, you know? Don't lose that and try and be too serious, you know, because you want to give the right impression to the casting directors. People just want you to be you. Casting directors love actors as well, you know? They wouldn't do their job if they didn't love actors. And when a casting director calls you in, they want you to be the one. They're not going to call somebody in for a job if they don't think they're really right, because that's just wasting everybody's time, you know? So I think kind of moving on from that, we're all on each other's sides. You know, casting directors are lovely people. A lot of them maybe started out as performers and have moved over into casting. Some of them were agents. Some agents were casting directors. You know, it's very fluid, this industry. So I think just if you've got social media, you've got Instagram, you've got Twitter, be yourself on it. Yeah, show off a little bit. Just make sure that what you're posting is brilliant, the very best of you. That's what I'd say.
Another question: as an agent, do you have certain things you look for in a potential client?
No, I go with gut instinct, really, and I love unique people. I like people that are a bit. You know, there's talent. Obviously, first and foremost, is super important, because without the talent base, the jobs are not going to come. But I love people. I think years of teaching, and I ran a performing arts college as well. I think that it's when you're looking at prospective students. I used to take the auditions at Studio Centre with Petra Siniowski, who runs Wicked. She's the associate director at Wicked, and I used to take the jazz classes for the Studio Centre auditions. And you just get, with clients, with prospective students, same with casting, with musicals, I just have a gut instinct. If I'm going to like them, I have to get on with them as well. So there are people that I've met with that I know straight away that we're not going to gel. We're not going to have a good relationship. It doesn't matter how talented somebody is. If you're not, being an agent and having a client is the same as being in a relationship. You know, there's some days that are good, there's some days that are not good. You know, there's days that you get on each other's nerves. You know, it's just normal. But you both have the same goal. You know, the same goal is we want that client to work. So I think for me, talent, obviously, uniqueness. What do they offer? Something I don't like to look at clients we don't like in-house competition. So we try not to have clients that would be up for the same jobs. Obviously, for an ensemble track in a musical, that's slightly different. But when you're looking at screen actors and when you're looking at TV and theatre, straight theatre, you know, I like the clients that are all going to be a bit going up for different roles. So I would hate to have kind of people up for the same jobs. That's just me. It's just something that I wouldn't feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. There's honestly, we've got some incredible clients, and they're all very unique, and I think that I love that.
Fabulous, fabulous. This is a question that's come up. How busy is Spotlight right now? Is there mostly work for actors with a British accent or also European people?
Spotlight's really busy at the moment. Yeah, so they've just had the relaunch of the new site. And certainly for screen work, TV commercials, films, television, there's a lot of castings coming in. I would say it's nigh on back to pre-COVID times. I think, what's the other question? Is there mostly work for actors with a British accent? No, I think, you know what? I think that the way that casting is developing, the authenticity is super important. I mean, we've just got a client, we represent a few international clients, and we've got one of our European actors that's just taped today for a film. So, there are lots and lots of roles up for that's up for casting for a whole host of accents. It's particularly with Brexit happening as well. There's going to be changes to, because none of us, I don't think we really know, where we all sit. So some casting is happening where they have to have an EU passport rather than a UK based. It will settle down, and I'm sure that British actors will be fine to work in Europe, but at the moment, obviously, it's just a little bit like that. So yeah, there's work for everybody. Honestly, I am super positive. I'm always. I think I'm a big believer in fate, and I think if you really, really want to work as an actor and you put in the work, then you will find the work. I know that sounds really simplistic, and I don't mean it to, because I'm sure there are loads of actors out there that think I'm bonkers by saying that. But I do think that there is work for everybody. And if you do have a particular accent, find out what shows are in pre-production. Get on IMBD and find out what screen work's happening for, and who's casting it. And there's an awful lot of productions shooting abroad that maybe need people that are living in those countries because of COVID. I think it's about your research. Yeah. Don't sit and wait for the phone to ring. Yeah, you all need to get up, go and find that work. I've always, even when I had an agent and I was acting, I always saw so much of my own work. It's about being proactive. Times have gone where you can just sit back and wait for the agent to ring. It's very, very different. And I love it when our clients have said, "Oh, Michelle, I've emailed this person and they've come back," and we work collaboratively. It's super important. And if you do have a unique accent, a unique skill, it's again that word unique that I do feel is really important. Embrace it, make it a USP, make it your selling point. Don't go, "Oh God, I'm not going to work because I'm from France and I'm not able to get rid of my French accent." Be proud, show off. I'm from France, I've got a French accent. Write to the casting directors that are looking for French actors, French speaking actors that have got a British passport that can shoot in the UK. Yeah? Every negative that you think, turn it on its head and make it positive.
And there's a way for everything. There really
100%.
is.
100%. I mean, I started the agency with one client, one client, and look where we are now. If I just sat there and gone, "Oh, nothing's going to happen," I wouldn't be here now.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to just stay positive and motivated.
Yeah, and it will happen. And our industry is amazing, and support.
Because the people in it are amazing.
Yeah,
we are all amazing. We will fight. We'll come back stronger.
Yeah, we all support each other, and we're all so collaborative, and it's just amazing. Whether you're a star or whether you're just starting out, the support is there. You just need to reach out and get it.
100%.
Everyone's willing to support people. But yeah, well, this has been a fabulous little chat we've had. We definitely both chat. It wasn't hard, was it, to have a conversation for an hour?
No, it went really quickly.
Yes, and all your details are down in the description. So your link to your website and things like that are all in the description for everyone to see. So if they do want to go and check out Michelle's website, then please do. Just a quick one. How, if anyone's looking for representation, what's the easiest way for them to contact you?
So on our website, we've got a form to complete, which will give us all the information that we need. At the moment, because we normally have a team of 8, but with COVID times, it's been really difficult. So we have got a little bit of a backlog on our representation at the moment, because we try and prioritise our current clients, obviously. So please do write in if you wanted to. The form is there. Send as much as you can, so I get a real good understanding of who you are and what you want. Give me as much information as possible, and we will be back in touch. But like I said, we've been really busy over the last few weeks. So if anybody has written in, I apologise now if you haven't had a response. You will get one.
Fabulous. Liam and Michelle chat show coming soon.
Fantastic.
But thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
It's wonderful to have you on and to kind of listen to your advice and your story. And hopefully I will see you soon in the future.
Thank you so much, Liam. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, take care. Thank you. Bye. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and what a wonderful Q&A that was. If you do want to check out Michelle's website, then please hit the link below. Also, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and look at the website to look at any videos that are currently on the channel, and to update yourself on any classes that are coming soon. Thank you so much, and we will be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock.